He just assumed. What just happened? It's actually Aaron's. I don't know if you know. I don't know what it's not. Why you want to Excuse me, I feel offended. Hola, amigo. Strike one. Why? I like how you say you don't know that much, so she's like, you don't know that much.
Alright, video's upside down.
Yeah, because we used to talk on the phone, so then I can see even a happy face. Yeah. We share everything. I'm going to have to go through Alvin and give up his first one. I'm going to bring him out, and then everyone's going to bring him out. Everyone's pointing that out today. He goes, "You choose the competitive." I didn't want to say no. You can't read it. I'm not to say no. I'll have this letter in my Bible. I'm going to have this letter in my Bible as well. Oh, hang on. I got to give you the number.
How long was yours?
I think men are more romantic than women. Women are. They're not. I don't think women are romantic.
Yeah, why'd you move slightly to the right?
Sorry, sis, can you repeat that, please?
You know, I don't care. No, that's it doesn't happen. Sorry, I don't see anything. I like you. Look at Matthew. He's trying to...
You're right. Only one you like. Aren't you right?
Yeah, I mean,
You're already there. You remember everything.
on the spot. I don't know.
They call him Mexican.
My belt's on my waistline. It's below my belt.
I do that cable. So I bought a little one for my Kia.
But you also think you're in the car on the way. And you like, Phoebe did think I'm like, Phoebe doesn't count in South LA. So you live South LA. Because like, and you look there.
But the pan. I want to be brilliant. Yeah, I did.
When it comes to
Well, think about the battery.
you made.
What's
this noise?
Yeah. Okay, I think.
How far behind is this?
You didn't bring any of the ice cream, did you?
So if we win, does it mean they'll be able to get it? If we lose, does that mean they'll be able to get over? Where's the mic there? The mic there.
The next one. Do you need a microphone?
I should have brought mine, Mama. Mama? I should have brought mine one.
I know.
For my aunt.
You know, one of the boys, they look so cute, all the men, young men.
Oh, the man is so cute. That's just...
You're 12.
You know what we need
Well,
now?
you're Asian, so
Seriously,
you're like,
we need
you're
like
kind
that.
I didn't go out of it seriously.
You should be sitting next to your hubby, actually.
We already have the type of
I was trying to sit across my husband, but he needs to be sitting next to your hubby. So I don't know.
I can do it.
Why not the empathy? I didn't say the
Sit
empathy.
next to your hubby, and I can still look at him.
What a word.
What's the word?
What did I say?
I don't know. You can have time. This is a rare thing.
Donkey. Yeah, but they were.
I don't know this.
That's not a bad word.
Did I send it?
It is.
Emu.
It's bad
That's
when
what
you
we
use
need,
it.
a bunch of girls there.
Yeah, but that's totally different.
Back in the old English.
The other one's ARC.
Yeah, that's not bad. Sam, I demanded my own dictionary. I'm a dictionary.
Okay.
It wasn't the right side. It wasn't the right context.
Yes, it was.
Okay. Evan, can you hear me there?
I can want to take one thing.
Yep. No, wait.
Give me 5 names. I'll set you clean.
Juliana, do you just want to play?
The customer was there. Is that what you made just like it? Amen.
All right. Shall we?
Well, I can try to. My legs are really big back.
I don't know where you live. Okay. You need to type.
I can't wait to finish it so we can get on James. I want to know James before Revelation. Okay.
Why? Before Revelation is Judah.
You better get some good at
Not Judah.
Which is James.
No, it's James. You're there, your last. It's Jude as well.
Yeah, but I want to do James.
All right. So, before we start with the study,
Yeah. Where's James? I have James here.
all right, quiet. Quiet.
Joey's actually studying.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna have to take a little bit of the checks. Move back a bit. You get a type. Liana, do you want me to all right, we need to tilt the camera up a little bit because my brother is so tall. No, that's good. Okay, I got it.
It's slow.
Just leave it. Okay, there we go. Sorry. My bad. He's so tall. Look at it. Okay, Samuel, can you adjust the volume? You can reverse it.
Maybe on the boys' side and the girls get the girls' side.
So, we got some serviettes.
I'm wearing
Can we get some towels from the bottom drawer? That's where we're tired.
It means to brown.
It's gonna get oily. Sorry, boys.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, perfect. You might want to grab one before I start. Okay. As we all know, our family is leaving to the US. And they'll be back soon. Don't worry about it. That's a different story. I'll be back. Now they're going to a good place. Would like to feel us in?
Well, we're hoping will happen. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Jason Toll. Right now, looking at employment with his father, who is he's not in our faith, but he recognizes the faith, and he would give me time off needed for feast days, Shabbats, any holy, holy times. So we're hoping that works out, and we will be down in Georgia, and we'll have fellowship with Jason Cole and his family.
We can read it.
Okay.
You don't mind.
Say nobody again.
Everybody hear me?
Sam, put it up, please.
Hello, testing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was in contact with Jason Toe. I don't know if you're familiar with his ministry, but he contacted me just a couple days ago, and he asked if I'd be interested in working for his father, who's not of the same faith as we are, but he respects, time off for feast days and Shabbats and appointed time. So, if that works out, it'd definitely be, working for us. So we'd have fellowship with him and ministry, and definitely keep you all posted how they go.
Good. I've been waiting for a while to oil this family, lubricate them a little bit. They've been already fulfilling the call of ministry up where they are for a long time. Sister Aurora has been working hard there. So I wanted to anoint the whole family. But our brother has come not long ago, so I'm going to take the opportunity before I miss it. And we'll send you to Brother Jason all ready to go. Sam, that needs to be up the volume.
Okay, but it's going to be an echo.
It doesn't matter, it needs to be up. Otherwise it goes mute. Thank you. Alright, so I want you all to help me pray. Dedicate this family, like we've done with the others. You got some serviettes? Yeah. Alright. So I need you to go like this. And look up, right? Because it's going to go on your eyes. So really close your eyes too. Kingdom of God, our Father, our King, come before you to anoint our brother, in the name of Yeshua, our Messiah and King. Sorry about the two boys. So Father, we consecrate this family in the name of Yeshua, Messiah and King, to set them apart for the work of ministry and for the continuation of your gospel on the earth. May you bless them wherever they go. May they be fruitful in all things, according to your blessing in their lives. May you take them on eagle's wings and bring them back if it be your will. Father, we commend this holy family into your hands. In the name of Yeshua, our Messiah and King, the gift that was upon me and my family, we put into them by the line on of hands, according to your word. In Yeshua's name. Amen.
It's actually very good.
It's got frankincense, that's why it's beautiful. It smells nice.
My skin feels lovely.
My hair feels nice.
My wrinkles are gone. You tell we're related. Yeah.
That's what we're related.
Thank you, Papa, and everyone.
This is very that's so good. My second night. We wanted to do that for all. Father, I fulfill your command. I haven't finished the rest, but I fulfill the command. Take me out of here. All right.
Indefinitely, depending on circumstances.
Let's pray. Avinu Matena, Father King, come before your presence to ask for your blessing as we come to the Torah. May you bless those who read, those who hear, and may we all be blessed by your word. May you speak to our hearts, and may I disappear from the picture. May it be only your word that remains, and everything that comes out of my mouth may glorify you. Hashem Yeshua, HaMashiach. Amen. Amen. All right. So today we're going to do something different. Going to a different topic, that's what I meant. Not something different, just a different topic. We're going to talk about healing. We're going to deal with the issue of healing. Healings, like an S. Right, in 1 Corinthians we've been talking about the gifts of healings, right, plural. The way of Torah. I'll talk about healing from the Torah perspective. There's a lot of stuff from Christianity out there about healing and the power of healing and the gifts of healing. Healings, the gift of healings, plural. Right? Can you check on the online that it doesn't glare on the board? That you can actually read it? I'll actually explain it a little bit. How about that? It's kind of glary still. Still blurry.
Mention the water.
As I said, you can't see it at all. Hold on a second. Maybe if I do it with the black. Let's try that. How's that?
Yeah, the black's better.
Okay. Go black. Torah perspective. Okay. All right, we're going to start with Jeremiah 30. And we're going to go to verse 12 to 17. So if we can have that read.
From 12 to 17?
Yep.
I'll grab that. I'll read that. Here is what Adonai says. Your wound is past healing. Your injury not severe. No one thinks your wound can be bandaged. You have no medication that can heal you. All your friends have forgotten you. They no longer seek you out. I have struck you down as an enemy, punished as a cruel man. Because of your great wickedness, because of your many sins. Why cry that your wounds and pains are past healing? I have done these things to you. To the grain of the wine, the olive oil, and the young flocks and of the herd. They themselves will be like well-watered garden, never languishing again. Then the virgin will dance for joy, young men and old men together. They will turn their mourning into joy. Comfort and gladden them after their sorrows. I will give you the colony. Their full riches. Their fill of rich food, and the people will be satisfied with my bounty, says Adonai. This is what Adonai says. My voice is heard in Ramah, lamenting and bitter weeping. It is Rachel weeping for her child, refusing to be comforted for her child, because they are no longer alive. This is what Adonai says. Stop your weeping and dry your eyes, for your work will be rewarded, says Adonai. They will return from the enemy's land.
It's 12 to 17.
Don't get too far.
12 to 17. That's
No,
right.
I stopped. That was 16. So this is the hope for your future, says Adonai. Your children will return to your own territories. I hear Ephraim bemoaning himself. You discipline me, and I took your discipline like an ox not used to the yoke. Let me return. I will return from you, for you are Adonai my God.
Is it Jeremiah?
Yeah, Jeremiah.
What chapter, James?
Oh, 31.
Oh no, that's 50. Very different.
The wind is deep. There you go. Somebody else can read it.
Well, thank you for reading chapter 31.
No, I started on 30, but then I changed 2 pages.
It started right.
I changed 2 pages instead of 1.
And everybody was questioning the translation.
Oh, there you go. Somebody else want to continue that?
I'll continue. What verse? Do you want me to just reread it or?
Yeah.
I'll reread it.
Yeah, I was thinking, what's going on? I can't open my thing. It's keeps shutting down.
I'm gonna reread. Yeah.
I'm having
Yeah. Okay, so I'll just reread it.
Yeah.
Alright, for here's what Adonai says. Your wound is past healing, your injury most severe. No one thinks your wound can be bandaged. You have no medicines that can heal you. All your friends have forgotten you. They no longer seek you out. I have struck you down as an enemy would, punished as a cruel man would, because of your great wickedness, because of your many sins. Why cry that your wound and pain are past healing? I have done these things to you, because of your great wickedness, and because of your many sins. But all who devour you will be devoured. All your enemies will go into exile. Those who plunder you will be plundered. Those who pillage you will be pillaged. For I will restore your health, I will heal your wounds, says Adonai. Because they called you an outcast, Zion, with no one cares about her.
Amen. Alright, so that's where we're going. The point is that God is the author of sickness. Have you considered that before? He's the one that brings on sickness. That's what it says there. Right? Especially on his children when he's rebuking them. Our one would think that something like that is harsh. Yeah? But God deals with his enemies the same way. And his rebellious children, he deals with them in the same way. He is the author of healing, but also of sickness. So you can see that. So where does that leave us as people of God? Like we were told in the chapters of Deuteronomy near the end, I set before you life and death. Right? And then it says choose life. Right? There is such a thing as free will, isn't it? We always talk about it. You know, God never forcing himself. Well, not necessarily that's true, but we do know that God gives us a free will. And in that free will, He sets before us life, healing, health, prosperity, all the good things that He promised, all the blessings that come, and death, which is sickness, curse. But He's talking to His people there. He's not talking to the world, so we're not talking about stuff that's going on in the world. The world's not even in the conversation here. We're talking about God's people. Why do God's people get sick? He says that He is the one that brings sickness. Why? To discipline us, to correct us, sometimes to take us out of the way because we can end up hurting others. Sometimes so that there is fear in among the congregation of the saints. Right? The case with Ananias and Sapphira. They were killed so that there was fear in the people of God. So that they can understand who God is. And there's the guy that the apostles were asking, Messiah, who sinned? Was it their parent or him? Why is he sick? What did he say? It was neither him nor his parents, but that God would have His glory. God will be shown as the healer. And then we have Job's case, which he was tested. Abba took his children, his wife, struck him with leprosy. Right? And the three friends were all about, oh, you're cursed because you are in sin. But he wasn't. God was testing him. He restored to him double the portion later on. But Job went into a really, really hard test. So where do we leave that when it comes to healing in our congregation? Can we say that all sickness is demonic in nature? I say we can't say that. Can we? Can we say that all healing comes from God? So that's sickness. That's what is stated there. I will strike you. I will make you sick. Because you rebelled, Ephraim. But at the same time, then it says, promise, I will heal you. Why? Because the nations are becoming proud and they're saying, look at this, Ephraim, look at it. He's all sick. Where's their God now? So the nations become proud and then God says, no, okay. I'm going to strike the nations now with the sickness that I put on you. I'm going to heal you because they become proud. So there's an issue here of pride that God deals with sickness because of it. We're going to look a little bit more into that. From the Torah perspective, God is the author of both sickness and health. Let's look at Job 5, verse 18.
Can I read?
5:18, yeah.
For he bruises but binds up. He smites but his hands heal.
He strikes and he heals. There you go again. Hosea chapter 6, verse 1 to 7.
Come and let us turn back to Yehovah, for He has torn, but He heals us. He has stricken, but He binds us up. After 2 days He shall revive us. On the third day He shall raise us up, so that we live before Him. So let us pursue to know Yehovah. His going forth is as certain as the morning, and He comes to us like the rain, like the latter rain watering the earth. Ephraim, what would I do with you? Yehuda, what would I do with you? For your trustworthiness is like a morning cloud, and like the early dew, it goes away. Therefore I have hewn by the Nevi'im, I have slain them by the words of my mouth, and my right rulings break forth as a light. For I delight in kindness and not slaughtering, and in the knowledge of Elohim more than burnt offerings. But like Adam, they transgressed the covenant. There they acted treacherously against me.
So Hosea 6 is very interesting. There's a couple of things there. He says again that he strikes and he heals. Right, so we got the contrast once more. He's torn and he will heal us, he's stricken and he will bind us up. So again you have that contrast, the two sides of God. And something interesting there about Hosea, that chapter there is that, what is it, 2 days, and on the third. After 2 days he will revive us. On the third day he will raise us up. That's a prophetic thing. And if we look into what a day is to God, we always say a day to God is as 1,000 years. So 2 days, 2,000 years. In 2,000 years he will revive us. So how long since Messiah passed away? 2,000 years. And what's happened at the brink of the 2,000 years? The revival's begun. We are awakening among the nations. We are realizing that the Torah is true, the Messiah is coming back, and that he hasn't changed. On the second day, he will revive us. And on the third day, what happens on the third day? Resurrection after the millennial reign. Alright? So a very prophetic verse there. Just thought I'd throw that in there. Let us pursue the knowledge of YHWH. He's going forth. He's established as the morning. He will come to us like rain, so on and so forth. The knowledge of God, pursuing the knowledge of God. That's very important. It says there is better than sacrifices. Right? I desire mercy and no sacrifice. The knowledge of God more than burnt offerings. The knowledge of God more than burnt offerings. Think about that. So anyway, let's move on from there. Daniel chapter 4, let's look at one of the cases. You should read all Daniel chapter 4. But we'll start in verse 29 to 37.
What was it? Chapter 4?
29.
Chapter 4, verses 29.
29.
I'll read it. The kingdom has left you. You will be driven from human society.
Yep.
Sorry. To live with wild animals. You will be made to eat grass like an ox. You will be drenched with dew from the skies.
Yeah, that's all right.
Alright. As 7 seasons pass over you until you learn that the Most High rules on the human kingdom and gives it to whomever he pleases. Within the hour the word was fulfilled. Nebuchadnezzar was driven from human society. He ate grass like an ox, and his body was drenched with dew from the sky, until his hair had grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like birds' claws.
Can you speak that one louder, please?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Within the hour the word was fulfilled. Nebuchadnezzar was driven from human society. He ate grass like an ox, and his body was drenched with the dew from the sky, until his hair had grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like birds' claws. When this period was over, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted my eyes towards heaven, and my understanding came back to me. I blessed the Most High, and praised and gave honor to him who lives forever. He who lives forever. For his rulership is everlasting. His kingdoms endure through all the generations. All who live on earth are counted as nothing. He does what he wishes with the army of heaven and with those living on earth. No one can hold back his hand or ask him, "What are you doing?" It was at that moment my understanding came back to me, and for the sake of the glory of my kingdom and my majesty and splendor also came back to me. My advisors and lords sought me out. I was re-established in my kingdom, and my previous greatness was even more added. So now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise, exalt, and honor the King of heaven. For all his works are truth, and all his ways are just, and he can humble those who walk in pride.
Amen. Again, the issue of pride. He does what he wishes. Let's make that sink in. He does what he wishes. Not what you want, not what I want, what he wants. Right? It's his laws, his kingdom, not ours. Yeah? We are his creation. Something created can tell the creator what it should be doing. Just need to accept that he's created for a purpose, whatever that purpose is. We should be saying, fulfill your purpose in my life, whatever that is. He does what he wishes. And it says again, to do with pride. So why was King Nebuchadnezzar transformed basically into an animal? Pride. What did he do just before he was transformed?
Made a statue? Was it that?
He boasted about all that he had done. God told him a year before, he told him, I'm going to make you an animal. I'm going to transform you. I'm going to make you lose your mind because of your pride. Did you heed that word? He listened to it, but it went in one ear and out the other. And then he stands in his big palace and he looks out the window, sees the vastness of his kingdom and says, I have done well, Look how great I am. And what does God do? Cuts him down. Just like the tree in Israel. Cuts him down. But leaves the stump, right? He sends him out among the wild beasts. For 7 years. Right? His hair grew like birds' feathers. I think that's literal. His nails grew like claws. He was an animal. He was like the original werewolf, really. Nowadays, if that would happen, we say, demon possession. He was possessed. Let's cast him out. Let's go after this thing. Bind him in chains and lay hands on it. Spirit of werewolves come out. Whatever. Sometimes we jump ahead of ourselves. We take the place that belongs to God. We think we are God. We play God with our brothers and sisters when it comes to healing. Right? Look at me, how powerful I am. I have the gift of healing. I go in and tell them everybody gets healed, apparently. Come back 3 months later, they're dead. Exactly. He does what he wishes with all of us. So healing needs to come from him. He is the author of sickness. He's also the author of health, of healing. Right? So why are we going around the bush pretending to be him when we're not? The point of the gift of healings is that he has appointed what is called authorities. That's by his design. Yes, there are people that have the gifts to heal certain diseases. They are the gifts to heal those diseases. He sends them to us. But these people are his design. They don't have power on themselves. They are given authority. Just like when Yeshua sent the disciples out 2 by 2, and he said, behold, I give you authority, right, of a spirit, and heal the sick of all kinds of diseases. He gave them authority. It was by his design and his appointing. Not by somebody saying, oh, I think today I'm going to exercise gift of healing. I'm going to start laying hands on people. See what happens. You're not anointed. You're not appointed by God to do that. Unless you have a direct command from God and He's appeared to you in a vision or a dream and you have had confirmation from Him that you have the authority to heal sicknesses, don't do it. Because you're doing witchcraft. You're just playing God. You're becoming yourself an idol. You're making yourself an idol and God cuts down idols. He'll cut you down. He'll destroy you. Whether you proclaim to be His or not, He'll destroy you because you're going against His authority. His design. His original design. It's His design, not yours. You've entered in that. And that leads to this. I want to talk just about physical sickness. We're talking about spiritual sickness too, which leads to mental illnesses. Yeah, that's an idiom. In Jewish culture, ancient Jewish culture, to be struck by the moon means to look. You know that psalm says the sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. That's an idiom. A lunatic. Luna, as in moon. You're struck by the moon. You don't look. Sickness of the mind, of the spirit. It's also sickness of the body, as we saw before. Nebuchadnezzar got proud. He thought, everything's so good in my life now, I'm the author of all this. And he forgot to give God the glory. When he put himself in the place of God, he raised himself as God. He made himself an idol. God struck him down. 7 years he was like that until he saw the light. His understanding came back to him and he raised his eyes to heaven and praised the Most High. Gave God the glory. At that point he was healed. Healing came. And God restored him. Right? And we have those chapters in the book of Daniel. From the brother we will see. King Nebuchadnezzar, we're going to see him. He's coming back in the resurrection of the dead. He's our brother. Because God struck him for 7 years with sickness. To deal with his pride. 2 Kings 20, verse 1 to 11. To 11.
In those days, Hizkiyahu was sick unto death. And Yeshayahu the Nebai, son of Amoz, went to him and said to him, Thus said Jehovah, put your house in order, for you are going to die and not live. And he turned his face toward the wall and prayed to Jehovah, saying, I pray to you, O Jehovah, remember how I have walked before you in truth and with a perfect heart, and you have done what was good in your eyes. And Hizkiyahu wept bitterly. And it came to be, before Yeshayahu had gone out into the middle court, that the word of Jehovah came to him, saying, Return and say to Hizkiyahu, the leader of my people, Thus said Jehovah, the Elohim of David, your father, I have heard your prayer, I have seen your tears. See, I am going to heal you. On the third day, go up to the house of Jehovah. And I shall add to your days 15 years, and deliver you, and this city from the hand of the sovereign of Asher, and shall defend this city for my own sake, and for the sake of my David, my servant. And Yeshayahu said, Take a cake of figs. And they took and laid it on the boil, and he recovered. And his Kiyaku said to Yeshayahu, what is the sign that Jehovah healed me, and that I shall go up to the house of Jehovah the third day? And Yeshayahu said, this is the sign for you from Jehovah, that Jehovah does the word which he has spoken. Shall the shadow go forward 10 degrees, or go backward 10 degrees? And his Kiyahu said, it would be easy for the shadow to go down 10 degrees. No, but let the shadow go backward 10 degrees. And Yeshayahu, the Nabai, cried out to Jehovah, and he brought the shadow 10 degrees backward, by which it had gone down on the sundial of Ahaz.
So King Hezekiah was at the brink of death when Isaiah came to him to deliver the news that he was going to die. So get your house in order, because I will kill you. I'm going to kill you. Now, what would you do in that instance? If God was telling you, I'm going to kill you. Throw yourself on the ground, start sobbing.
Pretty much,
King Hezekiah turned towards the wall and began to cry out to God. He was a righteous man. He turned to God. Right? Some people turn to doctors. Some people turn to holistic medicines. Some people turn to the latest research development from scientists. Eastern medicine in South America and Uruguay at least, Macumba, black magic, voodoo, and all kind of other crap like that. You know. What are we turning to?
I wonder why he didn't want to tell him. Because, I mean, normally you think you've got to tell them, okay, be music.
He was young.
I think everyone will try and cling to life. But it's our we want to, but then we want to our instinct.
I mean, I'd want to live. Like, if you guys like, sorry, Caleb, time to go. I'd go, no thanks.
Note that there's nothing wrong with medicine.
No.
Okay? And this chapter actually tells you that. There's nothing wrong with medicine. Right? The prophet Isaiah used figs to heal his wound. He used medicine. He didn't use shaking power, the force. He didn't heal him with voodoo dance. He healed him with medicine. God did put healing in the plants. God said that. There's healing for the nations in the tree. Yeah? On the leaves. There's nothing wrong with medicine, don't get me wrong. There is good. But when that becomes your focus and that's your primary source, you're absolutely out of it. He is the author of health. He's the primary source. King Hezekiah turned to God. That's what great men do in times of trouble. And God, the prophet hadn't even left the building. And God said, turn back. What? I just turn back? Go and tell him. He's got another 15 minutes. And he blessed him. He gave him that. Even to the point that he goes, I don't know if I should believe you, Isaiah. You just told me I'm going to die. You know, what's the sign? What's the sign that I'm going to leave? So, well, look down the stairs. If the sun turns back, or it turns forward, which one do you want? He said, well, it's easy to go forward, so let it turn back. We still got that gap in the timeline of days in history. This accounted for.
The hours or days?
The hours, the degrees that the sun turns back.
And that's just done calculations, that's the exact time that happens using.
Yeah. Using medicine is okay as long as it's not a replacement for God. Yep. Anything that is a replacement for God is an idol. Be it the best thing you can find on earth. You know? Superfood. The super chiropractor, the super everything. Right? It is a replacement for God, for your health, for your healing. It's an idol. Nothing wrong with hearing from God and going to these places and get checks and get healed and get medicine. That's all good. Sometimes the medicine helps you to keep you alive long enough so that you can try yourself into healing. You can ask God to heal you, right? But remember that He's the source, not your secondary thought. I want to touch a little bit on a couple of stories that we see in the Gospels. Luke chapter 13, 10 to 17.
Can I read?
Yeah, Matthew, you can read.
Let's wait for everybody to get there. While we get in there, I want to make sure that we balance this out. I'm not saying that all diseases are punishments from God. We don't want to go there, right? There are things that naturally happen because of the deterioration, right? The society is progressively going down. You know, consequences of bad decisions, consequences of our own sinful bodies deteriorating, our genetic pool being thinned out. So there is all of that as well.
Sometimes just the immune system getting being strengthened.
You know, flus are actually a natural thing. They happen to make your body stronger. So that's actually a good thing. I know it doesn't feel like it, but it strengthens your body.
Just like having blisters and calluses.
Yeah. So there is some stuff that is not necessarily come about because of sin. It's come about because we live in a fallen world and because, you know. But we're talking about the serious stuff, the stuff that is life-threatening, you know, stuff that He brings on. He says because of, I'm going to look into some of that, because of sin.
Like, you wouldn't be sitting next to a fireplace and having a hot ember fall on your arm and you go, oh no, that's God, he's afflicting me.
He's punishing me. You just had too close, obviously.
That's a consequence.
Yeah.
And then if you don't clean it properly, you get infected. That's also a consequence. Let's not go overboard to the other side. You know, not everything is not demonic either. There is the demonic as well. So we need to have a balanced view of all things. You know, as with the demonic, I would say the demonic comes because it's a consequence of something else, right? Someone said once, and I don't want to mention it because I don't like his ministry, but he was right when he said this, and that always stuck with me. You know, hot flies don't stop on hot stoves. Right? Flies don't stop on hot stoves. Think about that in the terms of a demonic spirit. Right? The only reason they come is because something smells bad. Right? You get my drift? You get what I'm saying? So the demonic only happens because there is something rotting. Something's not bad.
Because
it's not good.
You're also given them authority to go in.
Exactly. So it's either sin, we've not kept the Torah the right way, we're in rebellion, pride, all these other things, they bring in the demonic. Okay, they are attracted to that because that's their nature. So they search for lookalikes, for similarities. But not all sickness comes from demonic things. That's just doesn't work that way. You don't have the same pill for all sicknesses, right? So when we're dealing with sicknesses, we have to know what the sickness is, what the root cause is, where it's coming from, right? This volumes and volumes doctors have, right? Catalog sicknesses, and where they come from, how they, we need to be the same. Actually understand the source of it, rather than just lay hands on everybody. The scripture tells us not to lay hands on everybody hastily, right? We talked about that at the beginning of this thing. We did a whole study on the basics of our faith, right? Hebrews 6, the fundamentals of the faith, the laying on of hands, all that stuff. Let's not do that hastily. Just laying hands on people doesn't necessarily heal them. It can actually have the opposite effect. It can open up a door for demons to come in. All right. Luke 13, 10 to 17, loud and clear. Yep.
And he was teaching in one of the congregations on the Sabbath. A weakening spirit for 18 years. And see, there was a woman having a weakening spirit for 18 years. And was bent over and wasn't able to straighten up at all. And Yeshua, seeing her, called her near and said to her, "Woman, you are loosened from your weakness." And immediately he laid his hands on her, and immediately she was straightened up and praised Elohim. But the ruler of the congregation responded, much displeased that YHWH has healed on the Sabbath, said to the crowd, "There are 6 days on which men should work. So come and be healed on them, and not on the Sabbath day." And Dagon answered him and said, "Hypocrite, does not each one of you on the Sabbath loosen his ox or his donkey from the stall and lead it away to water it? And this one, being a daughter of Abraham, who Satan has bound, look, for 18 years, should she not be loosened from this bond on the Sabbath?" And when he said this, all his opponents were put to shame, and all the crowd rejoiced for all the splendor being done by him.
Amen. So here we have a case. This woman had been how long with the sickness?
18 years.
Okay. A day is like 1,000 years to go. I'll keep that there for a second. And she had a crooked back. Is that right? Okay. And she had a, I don't know. That's wrong.
That's okay. I don't know what you were.
Crooked.
Crooked.
Maybe remove the C.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Crooked back. Okay.
She wrote 1 year, 6 months.
I just said that. No.
18 years.
1,800 years. So, when we did the study of the blemishes and spots and wrinkles, you guys remember what was the crooked back? When we did the study of the, what was it?
Well, you start growing well, but then you get stunted. You just start growing quick. So you start into your own direction.
Yep.
Structure.
What causes that? No?
Stubbornness?
Osteoporosis. You need more calcium, brother.
Stubbornness.
Stubbornness.
To
What
walk
else?
right.
What else?
That's why she got so many folds.
There's no wrong answers, so just shoot out what you think. If you don't remember, that's okay.
If you think about a tree grows towards, it can grow straight, but then it grows towards just where the sunlight is going there and stuff.
These also they can also grow crooked and they can damage while they're young.
So Leviticus 21, 16 to 23, we've got all the blemishes there. If you don't remember it, Leviticus 21, 16 to 23, it actually mentions crooked back.
Leviticus what?
21, 16 to 23.
Can I read?
No, we're not reading it. You can look up the place where it says crooked back there. It will tell you the crooked back, what that means.
Hunchback?
Yep.
No, it's not. Is it a hunchback?
A hunchback, a crooked back, yep.
A hunchback or a dwarf or a man who has defect in his eyes or it's not scab or his unit.
Yep.
He does not eat the bread of his Elohim.
If you look at Matthew 11, 28, Mark 4, 18 and 19, 18 to 19, yep. Talks about the burden. And Mark 4, 18 and 19 also talks about the burden. Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, for I will give you rest. Basically, a crooked back has to do with being loaded with worldly cares. Right? The cares of the world. Now, what do you think is the care of the world?
Finances.
Anything that you make an idol. Basically, anything that you make an idol. Anything that you put
before God.
I said anything they put before God.
Yep. Anything you put before God is the care of the world. It can be your wife, your children. Ah. Right, and if we look at it from the point of growth, or from the point of view of growth, when a tree is growing, and this is where we went last time, and then it's stunted growth, it stops growing, and then it goes crooked, right? What you do is you put a stick on it, right? And you bind it up so you force it to go back the way that it should go, right? So he was going the right way, but then something happened that pushed him the wrong way. So he became crooked. Yeah? An accident, or a birth defect, or whatever. He was meant to go straight, but all of a sudden he turns. And he starts going the wrong way. Right? So you think of it in terms of the spiritual life. We're meant to walk this straight line, right? Narrows the way. But something happens and we start going the other way. Away from the way. Yeah? So you gotta get the rod of correction and bring them back. And it's not nice because it's painful, right? It's hard, it's harsh. Sometimes God has to put sickness to bring you back to the right place. You know. So crooked back has to do with idolatry. That's basically reduced it. Now I want you to think of this woman as Israel. The house of Israel. The northern kingdom that went away from the path. God had set a straight path for them to walk, but they perverted their way and they went away from God. And God chastises them and sends them out into the nations. puts a rod of correction against them. Says he will pursue them with sickness and destroy them wherever they go. Right? That's the first part. But then he says, how can I forget you, Ephraim? And he says, I will bind you, I will kill you again. And we have the whole messianic redemption scene where Messiah says, I came only for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Bring them back. Says he comes with a rod of iron. You can't bend the rod of iron, especially in the hands of Messiah. He's going to bring us back, whether we want to or not. Think of it as Israel. Messiah was healing on the Shabbat. What's the first thing we get called out to do as Israel? Come into my Shabbat and you'll be healed. Come into the Shabbat of the Lord. Because the Pharisees don't want you to come into the Shabbat. Right? Disturb their little party. But the hypocrites, right? Because they heal for their own benefit on the Shabbat. The world doesn't want you keeping the Shabbat. The Christians don't want you keeping the Shabbat. The Jews don't want you keeping the Shabbat. Right? But Messiah says, come into my Shabbat, I'm going to heal you. Because you're a daughter of Abraham. Because you're Hebrew. Then we have these 18 years. What's that all about? Where did Ephraim go? Where did the house of Israel go? To the nations, right? The nations is a symbol of Babylon, right? Who is the system of Babylon that we know of that has been polluting the earth since the days after Messiah?
Roman Catholic.
Catholicism. Let's call it for what it is. Catholicism is a symbol of Babylon. The Pope is known as he who keeps the mysteries of Babylon, which is the title of the high priest of Babylon. Even today, in their rites, they call that out when the Pope takes office. He's he that keeps the mysteries of Babylon. How perverted is that? Yep.
Wonder what kind of stuff he got saying. What kind of secrets of it.
They call Messiah the son of Satan.
Yeah.
It's on YouTube. You can watch it.
Sure is.
I can understand exactly what they're saying because they're singing in Latin. It's very similar to Spanish. They do say word by word. Yeshua, the son of Satan. Babylon is Catholicism. When was Catholicism birthed? Anyone know? Not Babylon, but Catholicism itself. The system of Catholicism. When was it birthed? When was the religion itself birthed? After Messiah, obviously.
I was going to say, was it would have been?
I can't think of his name. Origin? Him that divided the.
Where does Catholicism have its origin? With origin.
That makes the pagan with the Christianity.
Yes.
What's his name?
Constantine came after. Constantine was about 300
before.
Yep. So the
when
beginning.
the Romans, was it when the Romans allowed not accept it, when the Romans said follow?
It was basically when they thought, how can we actually bring together these two powers and make it one, but rule over them and have the authority to give the church the
Okay,
power to rule.
so history lesson. Constantine was a ruler, right? He took power, he would take about 300 AD, right? the system
That's not
of
long after.
the system of the system of Catholicism began way before that with this guy called Origin, around the 200 AD. I would say 150 to 200 anyway.
Yeah, wow.
150 to 200 AD. He is the first theologian that begins to change things, or one of the most prominent theologians that begins to change things. He sets up the system of Catholicism. He sets it up. Then Constantine takes it over. He's the first one to promulgate the union of the two systems, Messianic faith and pagan faith, overriding the Jewish filth, as they call it, of keeping the Shabbat. He's the first one that begins to put doubt on the law of Moses. Where did the Catholic have its origin? 200 AD plus 1800. 2,000 years. 2,000 years ago, this false system began to pollute our brothers and sisters. It made them go crooked. The Messianic faith was taking over the known world. Right, at the time, the apostles had gone to all four corners of the world, spreading the gospel, and it was like wildfire. Everybody who came in contact with it was healed and transformed. They were dying, selling everything they had for the gospel. They were just crazy times. They couldn't hold them back until this system came into being, and it stumped their growth. Stuck in there, and they began to go sideways. Her back became crooked. Idolatry became their symbol. And Israel was hunchback for 18 years. And then Messiah called her into the synagogue, to the congregation. He said, "Come into my Shabbats, I will heal you." And the Pharisees didn't want them because they were having their party, and they didn't want that messed around with, right? Just like the older brother didn't want the father to take back the younger brother. You know the story of the prodigal son? That's about Judah and about Israel.
She knew she was sick.
She knew she was sick.
Yeah. How you got those eggs That's an important step in
Skip the mathematician.
Right. Vicky, what was it? She said, now I understand.
Now I understand. Okay.
I didn't get it.
Good. Okay. We don't want to leave anyone behind. I can read my own writing. Alright, her origin was in 185 to 253.
That was his name, Origin.
You can Google him, he's all over
Yeah.
Wikipedia.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just,
So,
She's fact checking you.
I'm just amazed at the name, you know, like.
origin of Alexandria. So if you type in origin of Alexandria, Alexandria was a place in Egypt, by the way.
Egypt.
The Egypt symbol of the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
Not surprising.
And then you wanted to talk about this thing.
The state of origin. Yeah.
Hey, maybe
Hosea 4:6.
that surprises me.
Hosea 4:6.
Hosea.
Hosea 4:6. You can read loud and clear.
My people have perished for lack of knowledge, because you have rejected knowledge. I reject you from being priests for me. Since you have forgotten the Torah of your Elohim, I also forget your children.
Because you did not have knowledge of him, not only you are destroyed, but your children, their children, the generations, generation after generation. I was saying, why is there so much sickness in the world today? Well, because Israel has forgotten its God. They don't know who they are. But God is calling them back to the Shabbat, to the place of healing. My people perish or are destroyed because of knowledge. Knowledge of what?
Of Him.
Torah.
Of Him.
In my translation it says the Torah of God.
Yeah. Who's the Torah? Who's the living Torah? Yeshua, Messiah. In Proverbs 29:18 it says similar, it says, my people are destroyed or they perish because they have no vision. Father, give us eyes to see and ears to hear. Give us vision to understand what you're trying to tell us through the scriptures. 1 John 3:22 says, all you ask will be given to you. But there's a condition to it. John 14:15 says, if you love him, you will keep his commandments. And 1 John 2, verse 3 says that we know him because we keep his commandments. So how do you know him? Because you keep his commandments. How do you know you love him? Because you keep his commandments. How are your prayers answered for healing, for anything else? Because you keep his commandments. I mean, we're going around in circles for the same thing. So what's number one? Keep his commandments. Right? Ecclesiastes, and I keep going back to Ecclesiastes. I get criticized because of this. My one word, my one text. The whole duty of man. Once all the arguments have been heard, right? Some texts actually have that. Some omitted, some actually put it in. The whole duty of man, once all the arguments have been heard, is to fear God, which means to know him. Fear is the word for knowing him. Because you know him, you fear him. And keep his commandments. Which is redundant because you know him because you keep his commandments. So it goes back to keeping his commandments. It's not just one text. It's all over the scriptures, the same thing. He keeps telling you over and over again, keep my commandments, keep my commandments. But we don't want to keep his commandments. We want to do it our way, right? So we go ahead and we go and deviate from his commandments. And we're going to do it my way because I want to see it happen, right? I want to see where the power is. So we go after men that claim to have power. Idols that God will destroy. Or we go to the gurus of this age, whichever band you're in, Judaism, Christianity. They're all the same. They're all going after idols. We think that some man has some power that is beyond this world. I mean, there's only one man that has the power beyond this world, and that man is no longer here. He's moved to the next world. Right?
But the whole thing stems from two parallels. One is obedience and the other one's love.
Yeah.
Because that actually then takes us to be able to do what we are told because we obey, and we obey because we love.
That's right.
It's a big circle here.
Covered that. Start the discussion.
Yeah, the Galatians say.
That's awesome. Kids are doing well.
Bible studies working.
There's a few things that you said that I kept thinking we studied that.
Let's skip
We're in the same way.
We're not going to fix that. Alright. There's another story in the scriptures that is beautiful as well. I've got two more stories. I'll promise after the button. It's been long anyway. Matthew 12, 9 to 13.
Going on
Did you
from
hear
that,
it the first time?
Matthew, is it Matthew?
Like for the second time.
If you hear it more than once, it has to be more. That's what that's playing back and forth.
You lower the volume a little.
Matthew 12, I
I got it.
I got it before you got it.
I got it.
Yeah, you go, Mama.
Leaving from there, he went into the synagogue. A man with a withered hand was there, and so that they might accuse him, they questioned Yeshua, saying, "Is it permitted to heal on the Shabbat?" He said to them, "What man among you will not grab his sheep and lift it out, and if it falls into a pit on Shabbat, lift it out if it falls into a pit on Shabbat? How much more valuable then is a man than a sheep? Therefore, it is permitted to do good on Shabbat." Oh, 13. Then he said to the man, "Stretch out your hand," and he stretched it out, and it was restored, as healthy as the other.
Amen. Alright, so we've got a man here with a withered hand. When are we talking about? What day was this healing taking place? On Shabbat. That should tell you something. Straight away. What does that tell you? We just spoke about the Shabbat. Who's inviting you to the
Healing
Shabbat?
happens on
He's
Shabbat.
Shabbat, he's inviting you to it.
He's inviting you to the Shabbat, right? So he's talking to who?
These people.
To Israel.
Israel, right? So this man is also Israel, or a representative of Israel in a way. But I submit to you, this is Israel as a whole. Right? This is the body of Messiah, a man symbolizing the body of Messiah. And he's got a withered hand. Leviticus 21, 16 to 23 again. Talks about a broken hand. We did it in the blemishes study.
I don't know if you guys did the study of blemishes.
Wow.
Last year.
Last year, yeah. Sometime. I don't have dates. I should be dates on this. So Leviticus 21, 16 to 23, there's a place there that talks about a broken hand. And we correlated that with 2 Corinthians 4, chapter 4, verse 2. Anyone read 2 Corinthians 4, verse 2? What does that say?
2 Corinthians.
2 Corinthians 4, 2.
Indeed, we refuse to make use of shameful, underhanded methods, employing deception of distorting God's message. On the contrary, by making very clear what the truth is, we commend ourselves to everyone's conscience in the sight of God.
Sorry, can you read it?
Indeed, we refuse to make use of shameful, underhanded methods of employing deception or distorting God's message. On the contrary, by making very clear what the truth is, we commend ourselves to everyone's conscience in the sight of God.
Okay. So, broken hand has to do with mishandling the word of God. Okay? To have a broken hand or a dried up hand has to do with mishandling God's word.
So would that mean that a lot of people in the religious world will have that?
Yep.
I mean, just look at the Pharisees, right? Well, they completely...
So we're talking about Israel here. Right, they've perverted his way, he says in the scriptures, they've perverted the Torah. And they fell into idolatry. This is why God divorced them. Right, the woman with a hunchback, she was hated by her peers. Right? But God didn't reject her. When she came into the Shabbat, she was straightened, she was healed, made whole again. But in this case, we have the man with with her hand. And it says in Luke, I think, what is it? Luke chapter 6, I think? Yeah, Luke chapter 6, verse 6, it says, it was the right hand. Now what's the right hand symbol of?
Strength.
Strength. What about in terms of the family?
Leadership.
What's a father's right hand?
Firstborn.
The firstborn. The firstborn is the right hand of the house. Israel? The firstborn Israel? Why is he calling Israel the firstborn? I thought Judah was the firstborn. I have a surprise for you. Jeremiah 31 verse 9. Jeremiah 31.
With weeping they shall come, and with prayers I bring them. I shall make them walk by rivers of water, in a straight way in which they do not stumble. For I shall be a father to Israel and Ephraim. He is my firstborn.
Israel is his firstborn. Ephraim. That's some news, isn't it? But Israel sinned. So Judah took the scepter of the house that belonged to Israel. Right? But Ephraim is the firstborn. He's the right hand of the father. This man's right hand was withered. Just like the woman's back was punished. Inside the Shabbat, even though there were haters all around, they didn't want them to prosper, they didn't want them to come out, they didn't want them to be healed because they didn't understand what was going on. They were all part of the same body. Right, this is why Corinthians, Paul talks about the body of Messiah. You know, all members of the body, you know, but not all members are the same. So Messiah was, so Messiah is represented by both houses when they're together. The left hand was okay, nothing wrong, still strong, kept the commandments. Not perfect. Overkept them. Just like those guys that, I don't know if you've seen them, they do arm wrestling. And they got one arm that is like, and the other one. Have you seen those guys? Yeah.
There's some tennis players that got that.
Yeah. Massive one hand, and the other one is withered away. So Judah overdid it. But they remained faithful, not because they were faithful, but because God kept his promise to Abraham. Because Judah should have been kicked out just as mad as Israel. Right? But God had mercy for his promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and he kept the two tribes. And he strengthened them, made them strong. Why did he make Judah strong? Let's read Zechariah 9:13.
For I have bent Yehudah as my bow, and made Ephraim its arrow. I will rouse your son, Zion, and make you like a warrior's sword against your sons, Greece.
Judah can take the pressure of being bent under God's will. Right? They have 2,000 years on us being bent under God's will. But we've become sharp in the nation. He has put us to the fire, right? A bow, the arrow is actually made hardened through the fire. He's sharpened the sword, the tip of the arrow. And he's made Judah strong. What hand do you hold the bow if you're right-handed? Most people are. You hold it with your left. The left has to be strong to hold the bow. He says, he trains my hands to war. I can bend the bow. I was talking about that. I was talking about Judah, the bronze bow. A bow of bronze. Right? You catch the arrow with your right hand. So he has to heal the right hand so he can use it. Right? The whole term of archery is all over the Torah. The Torah itself is a term of archery. What's the definition of sin?
Transgression of the law. You're missing the mark.
You're missing the mark. What's the definition of not sin? You keep the mark. Torah. Torah, being shot as an arrow. Torah has to do with being shot as an arrow, hitting the target. Okay, if you study it from the Hebrew, that's what it is. It's an archery term. To hit the target is to keep the Torah. So that's Judah, and this is Ephraim. So God has to heal the man with a withered hand. The body of Messiah. Israel as a whole, made whole. We have the naysayers, they don't want Israel to be healed. They don't want Israel to be whole. Because what happens when both hands are able to work? His hands shall be scattered. Exactly. War comes judgment. Last one is Lucas 8, 43 to 48. Everything is perfect in God's plan. Lucas 8, 43 to 48.
And a woman having a flow of blood for 12 years, who having spent all her livelihood on physicians, was unable to be healed by any, came from behind and touched the tzitzit of his garment. And immediately her flow of blood stopped. And Yeshua said, "Who touched me?" And when all denied it, Kepha and those with him said, "Adonai, the crowds throng you and press upon you. And you say, 'Who touched me?' But Yeshua said, 'Somebody touched me, for I knew power went out from me.' And a woman, seeing that she was not hidden, came trembling and falling down before him. She declared to him in the presence of all the people why she had touched him and how she was healed immediately. And he said to her, 'Take courage, daughter, your belief has healed you. Go in peace.'"
All right. The woman with the flow of blood. 12 years she was with it. Whenever you see years, it's significant in some way. So if we got 2,000 minus 12,000, what do we get?
1,800.
1,800? 800. 2,000 years minus 1,200.
Well, I was thinking the combination. The last one was 1,800. I was thinking 800.
And then 12.
But 80 is the sign of infinity, or a number of infinity.
Yep.
Just kidding. 1,000.
Did you see a couple of
Two infinity.
Yeah, one vertical, the other was horizontal.
Alright, so we talked about the woman with the crooked back, right? And she was a symbol of Israel. And Israel became crooked around 200 AD. Right? When did Judah become crooked?
200. When, sorry, no.
About 800.
When was the Talmud completed? Thereabouts.
When the oral Torah was written?
Yeah, into a book. They say from 700 to 800 AD.
There you go.
The Talmud was completed. It began about 200 AD, but it was completed around the 800s. 7 to 800 AD. The final finalizations of the copies were done. So,
do that before
Babylonian Talmud came about 500 AD. Jerusalem Talmud came to be finished around 800 AD.
It was an older one.
Yeah, 200 AD. Which is what we got from most of this. Regardless of that, Judah became crooked to follow the ways of man. Her blood was spilled from generation to generation. Her flow of blood hasn't stopped. 6 million Jews were killed. In the 1300s, another million upon million of them died in Spain and in Italy. Hundreds more being shipped out. And it keeps happening. Wherever they have been, they've always been persecuted, murdered. Their blood has been spilled. The woman is still having the flow of blood. Even today, they're being killed, even though they're in the homeland. She's chasing her Messiah because her Messiah passed her by. He's back, is all she can see now. But she's catching up, guys. She's catching up. Because of her faith, which she hasn't given up. Because she knows the Torah and keeps it. Good or bad, following the designs of man and all that sort of stuff. All right, put that aside. They're faithful. They're faithful. Yes, they're going the wrong way. They're bleeding, but they're still walking towards Messiah. And it says in the scriptures that the time of the Gentiles will finish. And then Messiah will turn to her. When she catches up with him. When she grabs onto his authority and says, Baruch haba Hashem. Yehovah. Baruch haba Hashem Yehovah. Blessed is he who comes in the name of Yehovah. She catches up to him. Right? Song of Songs. Chapter 5, chapter 6, chapter 7. We have the whole story. The Shulamite. Bridegroom comes. Knocks on the door. Tries to wake her up. She's too busy. She's gone to bed. Then she realizes and gets up. But it's too late. It's already taken off. This is our brother Judah. She goes out into the streets and she gets beat up by the guards. And then the friends, they help her to look for him. They said, tell us what your bridegroom is like and we will help you look for him. And this whole beautiful thing happens. And it leads to chapter 7 where we sing the song of Shabbat. Lecha Adodi. Come, my beloved, let us go out to the fields. See if the vineyards are blooming. Right, this whole song of Shabbat, bringing us to the Shabbat. To be healed. Right, so let's not discount our brother Judah. I know that Talmudism is rubbish. They're so caught up in that they forgot the Torah itself. How they read it. But they're still chasing Messiah because of their faith. And it says there, because of your faith, you are healed. When Judah catches up with Messiah, that's it, guys. It's all over. She's going to be healed. And the judgments will be healed. And we'll join with them. One restored body. So when we talk about healing, we're not just talking about physical or spiritual healing. We're talking about the restoration of all things. The Torah talks about a holistic healing. Everything needs to be healed. Not just our common sicknesses day to day. And I appreciate that these things do drive us because they're in our bodies or whatever when it happens. But look at the bigger picture. He's trying to heal not just our body, but our entire existence. He's the author of sickness, but he's also the author of healing. He wants to heal his body, which you are part of. And my encouragement today is you need to go back to him. If you have any illnesses, if you have things that you're dealing with in your body, in your spirit, sin that you're dealing with, needs healing. Don't call it demonic. Don't call it something else. Go to him. Enter his Shabbat. And while you're in it, pray. Pray with all your heart. Ask him to forgive you. Ask him to cleanse you. Ask him to show you what is happening. He says, my sheep hear my voice and they follow me. You need to hear his voice. Don't kid yourself. If you're not hearing his voice, something is wrong. Stop whatever you're doing. Don't continue. It's pointless. You need to be in relationship with him. If you're not in relationship with him, if you're not hearing his voice, something's wrong. Find out what's wrong. Deal with it. Humble yourself before him. Throw yourself on the floor. Rip your clothes. Put the ashes in your head. Whatever you need to do. Humble yourself. Drop your pride. Drop your I know better than anyone else. It's about him, it's not about you. The reason why your body reacts is because there's something that is wrong. Malachi 4:2 is that verse that tells us that he comes with healing in his wings. Let's read it. Malachi 4:2. And the last verse we're going to read is Joel 3:15. Let's read it now, please. Anyone? Malachi 4:2. No?
But to you who revere my name, the brilliance of righteousness shall arise with healing in his wings, and he shall go out and leap for joy like calves from the stall.
The Son of righteousness shall arise, and healing will come, right? What does it mean by the Son of righteousness will arise? Sure. Right, let's read Joel 3:15.
Sun and moon shall become dark, and stars shall withdraw their brightness.
The sun and the moon shall grow dark. We've heard that before. What does that refer to?
The end of time when Yeshua comes to
When Messiah comes, right? The sun will grow dark. The moon and the stars, Ecclesiastes 12:2 tells us the same thing. Now we're talking about the day of judgment will come. Darkness will be everywhere. In Egypt, it says the darkness could be felt. this darkness that can be felt. We were talking about that with Brother Graham yesterday. It'll be a terrible thing. People couldn't get out of their houses because they couldn't see where they were going. There was no way to make light. But it says in Malachi 4:2, the Son of Righteousness will arise after the darkness, after the judgments have come, and healing will come. Israel remained in the light during that time of judgment. So make sure you're in the house and not out there. Make sure you're in the house when he comes back. So that you're not in darkness in the day of judgment. I want to close with a prayer for those who are sick, that the Father will restore them to full health, that they will awaken whatever it is that is happening in their lives. We're going to continue talking about healing and that sort of stuff in the next few weeks. There's a lot more to cover, which we didn't do today. Sometimes too long now. Alright. King, our Father, our King, we come before your presence. Humbled by your word, Father, may you find pleasing in us that we have kept your Shabbat holy. Separated ourselves unto you on this day and have obeyed the commandments. Father, we are trying our very best to do all things according to your will. Teach us the way that we should walk. Like David said, we will teach sinners your ways. In other words, get them out of that place, invite them into our Shabbat, and bring healing into their lives. Father, if there is any sin in us, anything that is against your will, we ask that you would forgive our sins and forgive all our transgressions. Father, we also bring before your presence those who have transgressed against us. Father, who are we to hold anything against anyone? We forgive them as you forgive us. And we ask, Father, that you would release us as we release them from their guilt. Father, we love those who you love, and we hate those who you hate. But Father, we ask that in your wrath, you will remember mercy. Just as Moses interceded for his brethren, we intercede for our brethren, wherever they are, Father, that if they are sick, consequence of their sin, if they are sick, consequence of disobedience, if they are sick, so that your name be glorified, if they are sick for any reason of testing, or as a consequence of bad decisions, Father, that you would have mercy, and that you will restore your body to full health, just as you restored that woman with a crooked back, and the man with a withered hand, who are symbols for us, that woman with the flow of blood. Father, may you have mercy on Israel, may you have mercy on Judah, may you open our eyes, all of us, that we would find you, our Messiah, and grab a hold of your zitzit, of your authority, that we would find the truth and the life, that healing would come in the morning when you return. Father, that would be found to be in the light and in your house during the time of great distress in this world at your coming. Father, forgive us. Help us all to deal with our pride that consumes us, that destroys us, that divides us. Father, please forgive us for taking the place that belongs to you, thinking ourselves to be superheroes when we're not. All glory goes to you. Heal us and we shall be healed. You are Messiah, not us. You have been given the commission to heal the brokenhearted, to heal the sick. Appoint to us those with authority to heal, so that healing can come in the physical as well as the spiritual, to our bodies, and we would all be restored. Father, we pray for your gifts to be manifest, those people that you are appointing with authority. In Yeshua's name, we commit ourselves into your hands, into the righteous rule of our King and Lord, Yeshua, our Messiah. Amen. Amen. Toda Rabba. Thank you. Sorry for the long.
It was a good one. Let's say goodbye. How about all right. What? The first good one.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
A big Shabbat Shalom to Nigel and Tanya and the girls. Shabbat Shalom, Nigel, Tanya and the girls and the boys.
Bye.